Have you ever found yourself explaining the same hurt over and over again because you desperately wanted someone to understand? You explained what happened, you explained why it hurt, you explained what they said, you explained what they did, you explained why it changed you, and somehow you still walked away feeling unheard. Tonight, I want to tell you something that may be difficult to accept. You don't have to convince someone else that your pain is real for your pain to be valid. I think this is something many of us struggle with after betrayal, abandonment, rejection, heartbreak, or loss. Because when something deeply hurts us, there's a natural desire to be understood. We want someone to look at us and say, I understand why that hurt you. You didn't deserve that. What happened to you mattered. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting that, because being seen matters, being heard matters. Having people around you who can sit with your pain without minimizing it matters. But there's a difference between wanting validation and needing someone's validation before you allow yourself to heal. Sometimes we spend years trying to get validation from the very person who hurt us. Think about that. We are asking the person who wounded us to convince us that the wound is real. And sometimes they simply will not do it. Maybe they minimize it. Maybe they say, that's not what happened. You're making too much out of this. Why are you still talking about that? I already said I was sorry. You need to get over it. And suddenly, instead of processing what happened, you find yourself defending your right to be hurt by what happened. That can make you question yourself. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I should be over this by now. Maybe it really was not that serious. And slowly, someone else's inability to acknowledge your experience becomes the standard you use to judge your own experience. That's dangerous, because healing requires truth. And sometimes the first person who needs to believe your truth is you. I want to make an important distinction here. Recognizing that your pain is valid does not mean every interpretation you have is automatically correct. Healing still requires honesty, wisdom, reflection, sometimes correction, sometimes counseling, sometimes another perspective. But you don't have to deny that something hurt you simply because someone else experienced the situation differently. You can say, this affected me. This changed something in me. This hurt. And then begin dealing honestly with what that pain produced. Because here is what happens when we spend all our energy trying to make someone understand. We stop asking ourselves the question that actually moves us forward. Instead of asking, how can I make them understand what they did? We need to start asking, what do I need now that this has happened? That question brings the focus back to your healing. Do I need a boundary? Do I need distance? Do I need support? Do I need to grieve? Do I need to forgive? Do I need to have an honest conversation? Do I need to stop having the same conversation? Do I need to bring this to God and finally admit how much it affected me? That is where your power begins returning. Not when they finally understand, when you begin understanding what you need. And before we go any further, if you're listening to this and thinking, I have spent so much time trying to figure out how to heal, and I still don't know where to begin, I do not want to only encourage you tonight. I want to help you take your next step. I created a free healing guide specifically for women navigating betrayal, abandonment, heartbreak, rejection, and loss. If you need somewhere to begin, begin there. The link is in the description below. And if you're ready to go deeper, I also have a healing workbook filled with guided reflection questions, journal prompts, and practical exercises to help you continue doing the work. That workbook is available for $37, and you'll find that link below as well. Now, let us practice healing. I want you to get your journal, or you can use your phone, the notepad in your phone, and I want you to write down this question. Whose validation am I still waiting for? Don't rush past it. Whose validation are you still waiting for? An ex? A spouse? A parent? A friend? Your child? Maybe somebody who was not even involved in what happened. Maybe you have been trying to convince everybody around you that you had a right to make the decision that you made. Write that person's name down. And then underneath it, write, what am I hoping their validation will give me? Permission to move forward? Permission to be angry? Confirmation that you were right? Proof that you mattered? An apology? Closure? Justice? Now we're getting underneath the surface, because sometimes what we think we need from another person is actually something we need to begin addressing within ourselves and with God. And then I want you to answer one final question. What would change if I stopped waiting for them to understand? Sit with that one. What would change? Would you finally stop explaining yourself? Would you stop reopening the same conversation? Would you stop checking whether they finally regret what they did? Would you stop rehearsing arguments in your head? Would you finally give yourself permission to move forward? That is your work this week. We're not just talking about healing, we're practicing it. And I want you to understand something. You can forgive someone who never fully understands what they did. You can heal from something someone else refuses to acknowledge. You can move forward without everyone agreeing with your version of the story. You can have peace without winning an argument. That's freedom. There may come a day when they finally understand. There may come a day when they apologize. There may come a day when they look at you and say, I finally understand what I did to you. And if that day comes, receive whatever is healthy for you to receive. But don't put your life on hold waiting for that day. Your healing is too important. Your future is too valuable. And your purpose is too great. If you're accepting this week's challenge, I want you to write something very simple in the comments. I do not need permission to heal. You don't have to tell us who hurt you. You don't have to explain your situation. Just write, I do not need permission to heal. And then find another woman who wrote those words and encourage her. Because that is what we are building here. Not just an audience, a community. A community of women who tell the truth, do the work, encourage one another, and keep moving forward. So if you've been watching but have not subscribed yet, I want to personally invite you to become part of the I Can Face Tomorrow community. There is room for you here. And remember, what happened to you is not the end of your story. There's purpose on the other side of your pain. And no matter what you have been through, you can face tomorrow. And I'll see you next time.